Hey, back with another tutorial. This time I'm going to be talking about how I make these moving platforms in my levels. They come in all different shapes, sizes, move in different directions, durations, speeds. There's a whole lot of customizability you can do with these different moving platforms to make, custom obstacles throughout your level. And so these, they have some complicated stuff going on, math going on in the node graph system, but I haven't really bothered to learn all the complex bits of it, but I'm going to show you how to make them to get them working really easy. So the first thing you want to do is going to do file, open scene, and then inside the workshop folder, there's a scenes tab or a scenes folder, levels folder, and then there's this intermediate level 1. Now, if you've played any levels in the workshop, this has been number 1 the entire time, this level. And the developers of the game gave us this scene in the workshop so that we can copy anything here that we want. And so there's this moving platform right here. And this is going to be our base for all of these future creations. So what I've done here in the assets folder, something I recommend you do, is just click on assets right here, right click, and hit create folder. Oh, I created it inside something else for some reason. Control Z that. Yeah, just right click, not inside something else, create folder, and you can create a new folder. And start it with 3A's just so that it goes to the top of the list, and then type in something like my stuff. Right? I've had here one for a while that's called Tyler's stuff, but I'll just show you how to do this. And then in here you can create a folder that's just called like prefabs or stuff that you want to keep. And now that you have a little bit more organized for yourself, click right here, moving platform vertical. You can just drag it right into your prefab folder, and now you have this saved for any future scene that you're going to open, as long as it's within the same project. And I can just place this wherever I want, and I don't have to worry about figuring out any of these scripts, but I can just place it however I want. So now I'm going to go back to the scene that I was just working in, my test level. I'm not going to save any changes I made there. And I can just place it. Boom. You've got your moving platform. And so when you get it, all these scripts aren't going to be collapsed. Lots of math going on here for how the game is figuring out when the platform's going to move, how fast it's going to move, etc. The only one you need to worry about is this one, signal math mul script. And so I usually just collapse all the other ones, so this is the only one that I'm worrying about. Whoops. Okay. First off, I'm just going to open ProBuilder so that I can turn this face blue, because I like everything to look nice. Oops. There. So now it's blue for me. Okay. So I'll explain real quick what this does. And I think there's no better way to explain it than just to show the effect you have by changing it a little bit. So I'm just going to do 3 examples. The first one I'm just going to leave at 0.25. The second one I'm going to switch to 0.5. And the third one I'm going to switch this input to 0.1. And we'll see how different the platforms behave now because of changing that one variable. Okay, so you can see the one that stayed at 0.25 is moving just like it did in the original level, maxing out just at the bottom at the top. The one that we changed to 0.5, by raising that number, we changed the math to make it switch directions quicker. So it's going back and forth much quicker, and because it's going back and forth quicker, it doesn't reach its full potential, its full height. And then the one that we switched to 0.1, it's moving it's switching directions much slower. And so it's still reaching the same bottom and the same top that this one was, but it's pausing for a long time there because the math is taking longer to tell it to switch directions. And so that's how I made this puzzle over here, how they're all going wonky. They just have different variables in that number, so they switch directions at different timing, if that makes sense. Okay, now we don't want them, for example, going up and down. If I want them going left and right instead. There's the object inside of this called an axis, and it's got all these white squares, and so that's the direction it's moving. So I can just switch to my rotate tool, and I can make this go literally any direction I want just by rotating it around. So let's say, for example, I wanted to go up at that weird angle, which is completely fine. It's going to be moving up at that weird angle. And so we have complete control over the direction it's going by rotating that axis around. I like to use these and setting it to exact angles, that way it's staying flat. Like when they're all at 0, it's going to be moving forward and backwards, kind of like that. But if you set Y to 90, it'll be moving back and forth more at a horizontal scale. And so you can mess with the rotation there to get it moving any direction you want. The other thing you can mess with the axis is these 4 values right here. I almost never change the minimum value, but messing with the max value and the speed, you can do quite a lot. So again, I'm just going to do, copy, paste. So do 3 different examples. I'm going to mess with it a little bit. So with this one, going into the axis, I'm going to change the max value to 3, just to shorten it a little bit, and I'm going to change the speeds to 2. And so basically it's just going to have much shorter space that it's moving, and it's going to be moving slower. And then this one, I'm going to change its max value to 10, but I want it moving about the same speed. See what we got here. So first off, you'll notice I was successful with the shorter one. It's moving a shorter speed and it's going slower and it's going not as far, and so I got just what I wanted done here. However, this one, I wanted it to go farther. Like its axis is much longer than the one here, but it's not doing anything different. And the reason is I haven't adjusted this variable to give it more time to reach its higher value. So by adjusting it down, let's say to 0.1, 0.15 maybe. I'm going to have to do it outside of this. Adjusting it down to 0.15, going back into play mode. You can see that it's now reaching all the way to its max value, and it even has enough time to stop for a little bit. So if I don't want it stopping, I'm just going to raise this number a little bit, maybe 0.175. Oh, well, you can have time to mess with that on your own time, getting the values to work exactly right. But honestly, you could set this max value to 50 if you want. Get it moving a little bit quicker there with the acceleration and the speed. And then come here and set it to 0.005. And that'll probably give it enough time to reach its full value. And you can end up getting some crazy things done. And when you set it that large, it takes some time for the acceleration to get it up moving, but that helps your character not fall off and just go crazy. So I hope you can kind of get the principles of the variables you can change with these moving platforms to get them doing what you want. This one here, you can see it doesn't look anything like the moving platform that we took from the intermediate level. And that's because using this as a base, you can actually make pretty much whatever you want move. So I'm going to come here and create a ProBuilder cube. I'm going to make it a child of that moving platform object. So it's now part of this object. And oops, I can do whatever I want with this. So I'm just gonna widen this face out a little bit. Sure, that's good enough. Make this a mover so that it'll be moving with it, and make its collider convex so that it'll be able to do collisions while moving. And then I can come to the vertical platform, and I'm going to disable the mesh collider and the mesh renderer. So basically you can't see it and you can't collide it. It's pretty much just like it's not there. And it's going to be moving this cube along the same path that it would have been before. You can see I basically turned the platform into this moving cube. And anything that's a child of this object will be moving with it, no matter where it is, no matter what way it's rotated, as long as it doesn't have its own rigid body or its own physics, and it's a child of this object, you can get it moving however you want. And so, again, you can imagine all the wild and wacky obstacles you can make adjusting these variables and just generally using the moving platform object that you get from it. The last thing that I'm going to say is, if I'm going to go back to play mode, every time I've gone play mode, you can hear the sounds coming from the platform. This object that we took from the intermediate level, it makes a noise that's sometimes not very pretty every time it moves from the beginning. And I've left it in some of my levels, but if you want to get rid of it, it's this lift a dash end object. You can either change the sound by double clicking on this little circle. That's not what I meant to do. On this little circle, and it'll bring up this menu where there's all the different sounds they use in the game. And so you can change the sound by selecting something else here. Or if you just don't want it to make any sound at all, you can just delete that object, and it'll delete the sound from it and keep it moving just like it was before. Alright, I hope you learned how to use moving platforms in your levels, in your Human Fall Flat levels now. If you have any questions or if you want any additional tutorials, just leave them in the comments. Thank you.